10 weirdest and isolated towns in the world I bet you don't know about. Some towns are hard to find on a map. These are hard to believe exist at all. No roads in, no roads out, no mail trucks, no ambulances, sometimes no law at all. Just people choosing to live at the edge of what's survivable. This isn't a list of places you've heard of. This is the world's forgotten geography, the town's civilization built, then left standing alone. 10 towns plus one that history tried to erase completely. Let's start at the bottom of the list and work our way into the cold. Number 10, Niihau, Hawaii, United States. Most of Hawaii sells itself to tourists. Niihau refuses to. The island has been privately owned by a single family, the Robinsons, since 1864, and for over 150 years they've kept it almost entirely closed to outsiders. Locals call it the Forbidden Island. There are no paved roads, no running water in most homes, no internet, no cell service, and until recently, no regular electricity. The roughly 70 to 100 remaining residents, nearly all native Hawaiian, speak Hawaiian as a first language, one of the last places on Earth where that's still true. The Robinson family bought the island for $10,000 in gold, directly from the Kingdom of Hawaii, with a promise attached: protect the land and the people on it from outside influence. They've held to that promise for 6 generations, even as the rest of the Hawaiian Islands transformed into a tourist economy. Residents live largely off the land and the sea, in a subsistence lifestyle almost unchanged since the 19th century, on an island most Hawaiians themselves will never set foot on. You can't buy a ticket here. You can only be invited. Visitors need permission from the family that owns the island, and even then, access is limited to guided helicopter tours that never let you near the village. The Navy uses part of the island for training. The rest belongs to a way of life that the outside world was never allowed to touch. An entire island kept off the map on purpose because someone decided the 21st century wasn't invited. Number 9, Villa Las Estrellas, Antarctica. There's a town in Antarctica with a school, a bank, a hospital, and a gift shop. Villa Las Estrellas is a Chilean settlement on King George Island, one of only 2 civilian towns on the entire continent. About 100 people live here in summer, researchers, military families, and their children, dropping to a skeleton crew when the 6-month winter darkness sets in. Chile built the settlement in the 1980s, in part to strengthen its territorial claim to a slice of Antarctica, and part of that strategy meant proving families could actually live there, not just scientists on rotation. So they built houses, a chapel, a gymnasium. Children born on the base are entered into Chilean records as having been born in Antarctic territory, a small but deliberate statement about sovereignty on a continent that, by international treaty, belongs to no one. There's internet here. It's reserved for 3 computers in the school. Children are born on this base. They grow up watching penguins from their bedroom windows and learning geography from a classroom that sits closer to the South Pole than to their own capital. The nearest hospital that can handle a real emergency is a flight away, if the weather allows a flight at all. A town built to prove a country can live on ice, populated by families who never asked to make that point. Number 8, Longyearbyen, Svalbard, Norway. In Longyearbyen, it is illegal to die. Not metaphorically, legally. The permafrost here never fully thaws, which means bodies don't decompose. The town banned burials decades ago after scientists realized the old cemetery was preserving corpses instead of returning them to the earth. If you're terminally ill, you're flown to mainland Norway to die somewhere the ground will actually take you. The town exists because of coal. American businessman John Longyear founded it in 1906 to mine the black rock buried under the ice, and for most of the 20th century, coal was the only reason anyone came here at all. Some mining still continues, but tourism and Arctic research have taken over as the town's real economy, bringing in scientists studying everything from polar bears to the global seed vault, a doomsday backup of the world's crop seeds buried in a mountain just outside town. Step outside town limits without a rifle, and you've broken the law. Polar bears outnumber people in the surrounding wilderness, and armed protection is mandatory outside the settlement. For nearly 4 months a year, the sun never rises at all. Total darkness from October to February. Around 2,100 people live here anyway, in one of the strangest permanent settlements humans have ever built. The world's northernmost town, where the ground won't take your body and the dark won't let you see your hand in front of your face. Number 7. Whittier, Alaska, United States. Almost every person in Whittier lives inside a single building. Biggish Towers, a 14-story former army barracks, houses nearly the entire town. Apartments, the police department, the post office, a church, and a grocery store, all stacked under one roof. Outside, Alaska's brutal winters make anything else nearly unlivable. The only road connecting Whittier to the rest of the state runs through a 2.5-mile single-lane tunnel, shared with train traffic, that shuts completely at night. The military built Whittier during World War II as a secret, fog-shrouded port, deliberately chosen because its near-constant cloud cover made it almost invisible from the air. When the base closed, the building stayed, and the isolation that once made this the perfect wartime secret became the reason a civilian town could barely function any other way. Locals half joke that the whole town evolved to fit inside one building because nobody wanted to shovel snow to get anywhere else. Miss the tunnel's last opening and you're sealed in until morning. Roughly 200 to 300 people call Whittier home, depending on the season, most of them just a short elevator ride from every part of their lives. It's a town designed less like a community and more like a bunker, built to survive the isolation, not fight it. One building, one tunnel. One town that decided the safest way to live in Alaska was to never really go outside. Number 6. Ittoqqortoormiit, Greenland. For 9 months of the year, the sea around this town is frozen solid. Ittoqqortoormiit sits on a remote peninsula on Greenland's eastern coast, home to around 350 to 450 people, a number that's been shrinking for decades. It's the gateway to the largest national park on Earth, but that park is empty wilderness in every direction. There's no road to anywhere. The only ways in are by small aircraft or by boat. During the brief weeks, the water isn't ice. The Danish government relocated the town's original founders here in 1925 from a village further south, hoping to establish a permanent Inuit hunting community on a coastline that had no year-round residents at all. It worked in the sense that people stayed, but the same isolation that made the relocation possible has slowly strangled the town's economy ever since. Sled dogs still outnumber cars. Seal and narwhal hunting remains central to daily survival, not tradition for tourists. Its name means the place with big houses, but there aren't many houses left. The town survives on hunting, fishing, and a trickle of adventure tourism in temperatures that regularly fall below -20. Polar bears wander close enough to require armed patrols. As the world argues about climate change from a distance, this is one of the places actually watching the ice under its own feet disappear. A town holding onto a coastline that's slowly deciding to stop existing. We've covered the cold. We've covered the cutoff. But the next 5 towns aren't just isolated. They're dangerous. Stay with me. Number 5. Hadibu, Socotra, Yemen. Socotra doesn't look like it belongs on this planet. The island sits in the Indian Ocean closer to Somalia than to mainland Yemen, and its landscape looks almost alien. Twisted dragon's blood trees with umbrella-shaped canopies, bottle-shaped trees swollen with stored water, plants found nowhere else on Earth. Hadibu, the largest town, is home to a population caught between 2 worlds. Ancient Socotra traditions passed down in an unwritten language, and a nation, Yemen, that's been torn apart by war for years. Scientists believe Socotra split off from mainland Africa somewhere between 6 and 18 million years ago, drifting alone in the ocean long enough for evolution to take a completely different path than anywhere else nearby. A third of its plant species exist nowhere else on the planet. a botanical time capsule that survived precisely because nothing could easily reach it. UNESCO named the island a World Heritage Site in 2008, calling it one of the most biologically distinct places on Earth. The trees look prehistoric because they basically are. Getting here has never been easy, and the ongoing conflict on the Yemeni mainland has made the island's isolation into something closer to a lifeline. Roughly 60,000 people live scattered across Socotra, largely cut off from the instability just a few hundred miles away, protected and trapped by the same stretch of ocean. An island so isolated, evolution built its own rule book, and war never bothered to follow it here. Number 4. Tristan da Cunha, South Atlantic Ocean. The nearest inhabited land to Tristan da Cunha is over 1,000 miles away. This is, by almost every measure, the most remote permanently inhabited island on Earth. The roughly 250 residents live in a single village, officially named Edinburgh of the Seven Seas, but known simply as the settlement. There's no airport. The only way in is a boat trip from South Africa that takes 6 days, and even that boat doesn't run on a fixed schedule. The island was named for the Portuguese explorer who first spotted it in 1506, but nobody actually settled there for another 3 centuries. A small British garrison arrived in 1816, largely to prevent the island from becoming a base to help rescue Napoleon, who was imprisoned on St. Helena over 1,000 miles away. Most of those soldiers left once the threat passed, but a handful stayed, and their descendants make up much of the population today. Every islander shares just a handful of surnames, a direct line back to the original settlers who never left. In 1961, a volcano forced the entire population to evacuate to England, not Africa. The eruption buried part of the settlement and forced every islander onto a ship with nowhere else to go. Most returned within 2 years, rebuilding around the same volcano that nearly buried them. Today, residents still list farmer and fishermen as their main occupations, on an island so remote that its own postal stamps are collector's items, because almost no mail ever actually leaves. 1,000 miles from anyone, and still they rebuilt on top of the volcano that tried to erase them. Number 3. Supai, Arizona, United States. This is the only town left in America where the mail still arrives by mule. Supai sits at the bottom of the Grand Canyon, inside the Havasupai Reservation, reachable only by an 8-mile hike, a helicopter, or a mule train down a canyon wall. There are no roads. None. Every piece of mail, every grocery delivery, every appliance in every home has come down that same trail on the same animals for over a century. The Havasupai, whose name translates to people of the blue-green water, were pushed onto this narrow strip of canyon floor in 1882, after the U.S. government stripped away the vast majority of land they'd farmed and hunted for centuries. What was meant to isolate and diminish them became, over generations, a kind of accidental protection. The canyon walls that boxed them in also kept developers, highways, and mass tourism largely out. It wasn't until 1975 that any of the surrounding land was returned to the tribe at all. A flash flood can cut this town off from rescue in minutes. The Havasupai people have lived in this canyon for roughly 800 years, guarding some of the most photographed waterfalls in America. Turquoise pools most visitors will never see, because reaching them means committing to a walk with no easy way back. In 2008, and again in 2022, catastrophic flooding forced full evacuations. Tourists and residents alike hauled out by helicopter as the canyon turned into a floodplain with nowhere to run. 800 years in a canyon that feeds them and floods them and refuses to build them a road out. 3 towns left. All 3 will make you rethink what livable even means. Number 2, Oymyakon, Siberia, Russia. This is the coldest permanently inhabited place on the planet. Oymyakon has recorded temperatures below -90 degrees Fahrenheit, cold enough that exposed skin can freeze in minutes, cold enough that cars are never fully turned off in winter because a dead engine may never restart. Around 500 people live here, in wooden houses heated by coal that has to be delivered before the ground freezes too hard to move. The name Oymyakon reportedly comes from a local even word, meaning unfrozen water, a reference to a nearby thermal spring that never fully ices over, which is the only reason anyone settled here in the first place. Reindeer herders originally used the spring as a winter watering hole, and a permanent village grew up around it during the Soviet era, when the state forcibly settled many of Siberia's nomadic herding communities into fixed villages. The spring that gave the town its name is now one of the only warm things for hundreds of miles in any direction. Locals call vodka Russian tea, is less a joke than a survival strategy. The school only closes when temperatures drop past -61. Toilets are outdoors because plumbing freezes solid. Burying the dead requires lighting a fire on the ground for hours just to thaw it enough to dig. Oymyakon isn't a curiosity to the people who live there. It's a place where the cold is a daily negotiation, one that occasionally ends in someone not coming home. The coldest town on Earth, where the ground itself has to be convinced by fire to accept a body. Number 1. Rinconada, Peru. This is the highest town on Earth, and one of the most dangerous. Perched over 16,000 feet up in the Peruvian Andes, above the clouds and above the tree line, La Rinconada exists for one reason: gold. Miners work under a centuries-old system called cachorio, 30 days of unpaid labor, followed by a single day where they're allowed to take home whatever ore they can carry. Sometimes that ore holds gold, often it holds nothing. The town barely existed before 2001, when a spike in gold prices triggered a rush that pulled tens of thousands of people up the mountain almost overnight. The population reportedly grew by well over 200% in a single decade. Most arrived with nothing and found a settlement with no formal infrastructure to receive them. No sewage, no waste collection, no functioning government services, built faster than any authority could plan for it. What grew instead was one of the least regulated places in South America, run largely by informal mining cooperatives instead of the state. There is no sewage system in a town of 30,000 people. Waste runs openly through the streets, alongside mercury used to extract gold from raw ore, a toxin that's poisoned the water, the soil, and the residents themselves for generations. The air holds half the oxygen found at sea level. Altitude sickness is constant. Law enforcement is almost non-existent, and reports of violence, exploitation, and human trafficking have followed the gold rush here for decades. People keep arriving anyway, chasing a version of luck that mostly doesn't exist. The highest town on Earth was built entirely on a bet, and most of the people living there are still waiting to see if they lost. Bonus: Pitcairn Island, South Pacific. Pitcairn Island wasn't settled. It was hidden in. In 1790, mutineers from the HMS Bounty burned their own ship in the harbor here, specifically so no passing vessel would ever spot it and give away their location. It worked. The island has no natural harbor, no airstrip, and sits so far from any shipping lane that a supply boat visits only a few times a year. Today, somewhere between 35 and 50 people live here, nearly all of them direct descendants of those same mutineers and the Tahitian men and women who sailed with them. For nearly 2 decades after the mutiny, the outside world had no idea the island was inhabited at all. An American sealing ship finally stumbled onto the settlement in 1808, finding a small community of survivors, children, and one remaining mutineer, John Adams, who'd reinvented himself as a religious patriarch presiding over the colony he'd helped create through violence. The island became a strange kind of legend, proof that a crime could vanish completely, as long as it vanished somewhere remote enough. The isolation that hid a mutiny also hid something much worse for over a century. In 2004, a trial exposed decades of systemic sexual abuse on the island, implicating a large share of its small population of adult men, including the mayor. Investigators had to fly a courtroom's worth of officials onto an island with no proper landing strip just to prosecute it. The same isolation that let the mutineers vanish from history in 1790 had let this go unreported for generations, simply because there was almost no one from the outside world close enough to notice. A hiding place that worked exactly as designed for the people who built it and for what it let happen after. 11 towns. 11 different reasons people chose the edge of the map over the middle of it. Some were isolated by geography, some by ice, some by war, some by nothing but a single road that only opens in daylight. But every one of them holds people who decided that isolation was still better than the alternative, wherever they'd come from. And at least one of them held something the outside world never got the chance to see until it was far too late. The world likes to think it's fully mapped, fully connected, fully known. It isn't. Somewhere out there, right now, someone is watching the last boat leave, and staying anyway. This has been Fallow Empire. Real places, no filler.